Okay, we're continuing with part 3 about Michael Sugrue, the greatest philosophy professor on the internet. And he's very good. As a matter of fact, let's say you want to learn philosophy, what you should do is watch all of his lectures. Now, don't get me wrong, some of his lectures you're not going to like them, or it's stupid, something you don't care about, then just don't watch that one. But if you're like a young guy and you want to develop a sophisticated understanding of philosophy, you won't find a better philosophy professor than Sugrue. He's really smart, he's really nice. He wants to understand philosophy. He's like a philosopher himself. Because most philosophy professors are kind of a joke. They just want an easy job. They sit there and they BS a little bit, collect a paycheck. It's really easy. Whereas he's trying to understand stuff. And he was more of a historian initially than a philosopher, such that he really knows history. He can put things into historical content. He's got a wide knowledge of the field, so he can see the connections. And he loves it, and he tries to help people, and he's honest, and he's nice. Those are all the signs of a good teacher. So, like I said, you won't do better than just crank through all his lectures, and he'll be good. And he's a historian and a philosopher. Then the other guy is Rufus Fears. Rufus Fears, I'd say, is a better history teacher. Sugrue is a better philosophy teacher. They go well together. They're both magnificent. Okay, here's a little bit of opinions of Sugrue. He says Kierkegaard is the embodiment of Protestantism, which is faith alone. And he also is going to tell you that he thinks faith alone is a mistake because it makes people crazy. Like Martin Luther was kind of crazy again. Sugrue says faith alone leads to craziness like Luther. And then they start smashing all the paintings and sculptures. That was insane. That's called iconoclasm of the Protestants. They would go and throw the Celtic crosses into the ocean. And it's like Bishop Barron had said, when a movement starts destroying beautiful things, you know it has gone bad. Like look at the French Rev, 1789 to 1794. When you start, putting people in, you call that thing a guillotine, then there's something wrong with you. You're off track. Okay. So, anyways, Sugrue talks about the Bible. He says the Bible is a big, complex book. A person finds in it what reflects their interests. People who are kind, they like the Sermon on the Mount. Kierkegaard was drawn to the story of Abraham and Isaac. Kierkegaard was drawn to the idea of becoming a knight of faith. And he wrote, like either or, yes or no. And what Kierkegaard really emphasized is that you don't in life a lot of times get to choose a Hegelian dialectic, meaning that Hegel said there's the thesis, there's the antithesis, antithesis, and then there's a synthesis, so finding a new, better way to combine both of them. But in real life, you don't always get to combine stuff. It's yes or no. You're either married or you're not. You're either pregnant or you're not. Okay? So, in real life, a lot of times it is that way. Okay. So again, Sugrue likes Kierkegaard, but thinks he's a little crazy. I love Kierkegaard, actually. He's one of my favorite guys to quote. I've done plenty of videos about him before. Sugrue says, he wants both faith and reason. He doesn't want just faith alone. Because, Luther was kind of crazy. Luther hated Aristotle. It's like, how could you hate Aristotle? Smartest guy who ever lived, the best philosopher who ever lived, who was about getting educated and learning things. A few comments on Brothers Karamazov. I know we already went through his video. He had the best summary ever of anybody. I linked to it on my first quote video of him in this little series here. Grushenka, who is sort of the girlfriend of both the father Karamazov and Dmitry Karamazov. Her name means pear. Let's see, Ivan of the brothers symbolized the European Enlightenment, which Dostoevsky thought had gone sour. Dostoevsky basically felt reason can only go so far. And I kind of had the same experience with my mother and my father. Growing up, I thought my father was like a genius. He was a double-boarded doctor, and he was also a big athlete, a boxing champion. He's reading all the time, and I wanted to be like my dad, and my mom never read a book. I thought my mother was stupid. But the older I got, I'm like, gosh, wherever my mom goes, everybody's happy and laughing. She's always cracking jokes. And I later realized, in order to be funny, you got to be clever, okay? Be able to see what is funny. Very few people are funny. That's a sign of a genius of a sort. My mom was always making everybody laugh and making everybody happy. And she was always doing the right thing, regardless of what was the expected thing or the formally correct thing. She just knew what the right thing was. Whenever there was a party, she made all the lonely people happy, all the wallflowers, she got them somebody to talk to. And in real life, she was always doing the right thing in terms of what really was right for people, not what sounded right or what was expected. And I'm like, wow, it's better to be like my mom. My mom's nicer than my dad. My mom's smarter about people than my dad is. Even though he was a psychiatrist, he didn't know people the way she did. There was no comparison. Okay, so what Dostoevsky is basically saying in the book of Ivan, the genius, kind of going into madness and doing jerkified things, is you can only go so far with reason. And Carl Jung had said too, myth goes way beyond where reason and science can go. Religion goes way beyond where science can go. And so-called reason and science, they always end up getting corrupted unless there's not sort of strong Christian-like ethics behind it. They usually get corrupted. There's exceptions, of course, but you have to have ethics at the bottom. If there's any money involved, and quite often in modern science, money does become involved. Okay, so you have to value the truth above money. He talks about how the Eastern Orthodox Church split off in 1054 from the Roman Catholic Church. And Dostoevsky was a deeply Christian writer who felt that Russian Christianity was the best, could save the world. When Byzantium fell, the Eastern Orthodox became even more focused on Russia. Eastern Orthodox is very ancient like the Roman Catholic Church, but it did have a significant amount of iconoclast smashers of art, which I don't like, and it doesn't have that good art. Russia did have great artists in the 1800s, but they then, once after 1918, they went down the tubes. Dostoevsky, is a better psychologist than Freud. Freud's a joke, okay? He was sort of just he started a new trend, but for what? A bunch of nonsense, okay? Let's see here. Yeah, the big lesson from Brothers Karamazov, as we spoke about before, is that the best way to be is like Alyosha. That was kind of the point of the whole book. Christ and Alyosha are the path to happiness and a good society for everybody. Scientific materialism is bad because it denies the soul. With scientific materialism, like Ben Stein said, you always end up just bumping people off. Because if you go down that path like, Robespierre and the French Rev, where you're so-called, because reason gets an exaggerated sense of its own correctness. It does. Whereas, thinking from the heart, like in a Christian way, it gets you to say, hey, consider the other person's point of view, not just your point of view. And then it gets you to be nice to them, and that's what makes everybody better off. Let's see. Oh, Sugrue loves Beethoven, and he loves the Pathétique. You should listen to it. I'll link to it below, the Pathétique. I'll link to it below this video. And, of course, his ninth. The ninth is magnificent. Ode to Joy. It's magnificent. It's like, kind of runs with the lyrics to Schiller's voice. And some people said, it's an admission that you can only go so far with an instrumental, and then you break into words because vocal music can go farther. Mediterranean means the middle of the earth. Sort of an attitude of Ben Franklin was, if you imitate Socrates and Jesus, you won't go too far wrong. A lot of the founding fathers did not like, they liked Socrates. They didn't like Plato that much because he was too collectivist. Okay, we're almost done for this one here today. Sugrue says, Platonism is basically Greek monotheism. Yeah, Socrates, and then especially Plato, was pushing towards Greek monotheism, which is a denial of paganism, which pissed off a lot of people. A religion provides a sense of justice to society, and it helps to pacify the aristocratic class. Because otherwise, the aristocrats think the plebeians are just lowlifes. The plebeians are actually easier to control. Sometimes religion, is totally obviously used to pacify the population. Like around 300 BC, Ashoka, conqueror of India, he changed from being this brutal dictator to saying, oh, he wants to be Buddhist and everybody should become Buddhist and just meditate and look at the wall. He just wanted everybody to calm down, not give him any trouble. If you want to see Sugrue's lectures, the best place to go is his YouTube channel, Michael Sugrue. But you can also sometimes see some good videos at this Great Minds course. I had some link to it down there, but you'll find, if you just search the internet, you'll find Sugrue pretty easily. And I'd also recommend find Rufus Fears. For a young person, just watch all their lectures. If they're boring, shut that one off, but most of them will be good, and you'll take off in terms of your learning. Anyways, hope you found this helpful.